So welcome everybody to our February Lunch and Learn. We're here with Terry Greene from Fleming College and his panel of experts on open educational resources. So I'm just going to turn it over to Terry, just reminding everybody that you feel free to enter questions in the chat, and or you can also unmute your mic and ask questions as well. I believe Terry's going to introduce himself. So thank you for being here, Terry, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. You hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Terry Greene. I am the digital learning advisor at Fleming College. I'm at the central campus in Peterborough, but we also have campuses in Coburg, Halliburton, and Lindsay. Thanks for filling out this Menti. It's pretty awesome that nobody is locked shut. Everybody, I think, has the potential to be open. I'm gonna go over to the slide deck here.
What the heck? I can't hear.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Can you see the slide deck?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so today's theme of the background images, I chose skateboarding because skateboarding, just like open education, is super cool. It's radical. It's awesome to see people doing it. It's awesome to do it. It can be hard work, but it's definitely worth it. And we're going to have a panel discussion with 4 people. We have, first off, the Tony Hawk of Open Education, Tanya Spilovoy, the Director of Open Policy at WICHE, the cooperative for, WICHE, WCET is the WICHE cooperative for educational technologies, and maybe she can tell us what that is. Tanya, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So I'm the, are we on?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. So I'm the Director for Open Policy at WICHE, the Cooperative for Educational Technologies. I'm also the lead instructor for Spark. And I teach the Open Educational Leadership Program for librarians there. But my position at WICHE is to work with states and institutions, and especially the regional compacts. There's 4 regional compacts in the United States, to help them design and implement open education leadership programs throughout their states and around the country.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
And next we have Peg French, the Tony Hawk. Sorry, Tony Hawk's the only skateboarding name I'm guessing we all know. I think it's the only one I know. Peg French is the Tony Hawk of Open Education, curriculum development consultant at Mohawk. Hi, Peg. Hello. Can you hear us, Peg? I think I heard you before. Wait, is she typing in the chat? No, sorry.
I'll try messaging her if you want to just keep rolling, and then we'll see if we can help her out.
No problem. So let's go to the Tony Hawk of Open Education. James Glappa-Grossklag, the Dean of Educational Technology, Learning Resources, and Distance Learning at College of the Canyons in California, and I believe they have a campus in every canyon in California. Is that right, James?
That's close. Hey, Terry, can everybody hear me? Audio okay?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I'm I guess, not the token American. We got 2 Americans, but I'm out in California, so I feel as though I don't have to apologize as much as people from other parts of the states. As you see from my title, I'm a dean. I'm an academic administrator at a California community college, an open enrollment institution. I get to work with all kinds of different parts of the institution, including our online or distance education arm. So I work a lot with folks who do learning design, instructional support, a lot of technology involved in that. And then my great passion, of course, is open educational resources And before I got into this dean business, I was a faculty member in history, teaching a lot of online stuff as well. So I kind of been swimming in the overall digital space for a while.
Awesome. Thank you, James. And finally, the fourth Tony Hawk of Open Education, Helen DeWard, who is a professor of digital teaching and learning at Lakehead. Hi, Helen.
Hello. Hi. I say credentials. If you look at the volume of text, my credentials are somewhat lacking, but I am open to being open, and I work in the open with the students that I teach. So there, that's my credentials.
Well, I could have added, and I should have, that you're the Canada lead for Virtually Connecting.
That is correct too, and the only Canadian who is certified to teach to facilitate the Creative Commons certification course.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
And Peg, can we hear you now?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yay! Hi, Peg.
Woo! Hi.
Welcome.
Sorry about that, folks.
No worries.
I was all set up.
And now you are again.
I am again.
Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Okay. Bit of background. So Open came to me at library school in about 2002. The penny dropped. I'll confess I'm not a very good Open advocate because I don't get why you wouldn't do it. So I'm probably not the best person to try to convince people, but I do my best. And I guess claim to fame, I've taught everything from kindergarten to grad school, and no one has ever paid for a resource in a course I've taught.
That is awesome.
I'm also a librarian.
Excellent. So this is definitely a super crew. Thank you everyone for joining us. We're gonna go through a number of questions, but the first question, question 0, we thought Helen put up her hand to take a stab at being the person to answer this question, and everyone else can pop in their thoughts after. Helen, do you want to give her?
Yeah, so I was really happy to see that question that you put on the Mentimeter to kickstart us, because it reminded me of the 50 Shades of Open that I use frequently. Talk about being physically open like a door, but open-minded, open access, so you can get into things with admittance. Being openly transparent, so you can see what's inside. So it's like looking through an open window. Philosophically being open, so that willingness to share and collaborate. And then the whole notion of free. So free as in I can access this, like the parks that I visit. So in terms of education, what comes to mind really is the 5 R's: retain, reuse, revise, remix, and redistribute. Resources. I like to think about open practice and open pedagogy. Because I am an instructor, I am a teacher, so I think of my practice as being open. I really like the guidelines and frameworks that are coming out of the European context. They've got some nice fairly new framework on open education, and it talks about those same kinds of things: access, content, pedagogy, research, technology, leadership, as all being elements of open education. But really, I think I talk about it being layered between OER, the resources, the scholarship, being open, so being able to access research papers, open pedagogies, and open practices.
Excellent. Any other of our esteemed panel want to drop some nuggets of wisdom on top of that?
Yeah, this is James. I'll go with the prevailing sort of dictionary definition of open educational resources from from the longtime supporters of OER at the Hewlett Foundation. They would define open educational resources as teaching and learning materials that can be freely shared, used, and remixed in order to benefit everyone.
That sounds pretty good to me. Anyone else? All right, so now we'll go to question 1. This will be each member of the panel is going to take a stab at each of these questions. Okay, ready? Question 1. What are some of the things that you do yourself in your work that you would call open education? And let's go in alphabetical order by first name. So we have Helen.
Okay. Things that I do that I call open. So in my course instruction, I publish everything. All the content is openly available on a course website. So it's available and open and accessible beyond the course itself. So students can take this learning with them into the field of education. The work that I do with Creative Commons, the certification courses that I'm facilitating. I'm involved with a UNESCO project that's really quite exciting called Open Education for a Better World, and it partners and mentors people from around the globe on a project that focuses on development of OER and looking at teaching and learning practices in the open. So this is my second year. I've partnered with educators in India, located centrally in Mumbai, and developed like a mini MOOC style course that they want to distribute to learners in their area.
Very cool.
My big project, my favorite, is virtually connecting. It keeps me connected to people all over the globe. So these conference conversations. So I'm looking forward to doing some virtually connecting from OER 20 in the UK coming up, and then again at OTESA later in May here in London, Ontario.
Fabulous.
And finally, my PhD that I'm working on. I'm also investigating open educational practices with a digital media literacy twist to it. And I'm doing it in the open. I'm blogging about it. I'm developing the comprehensive portfolio right now, and it's in the open, readily accessible, and using hypothesis as a way to have conversations with people from around the world.
Wow.
So those are my open stuff, my open educational pieces.
That sounds pretty awesome. Thank you so much. And if we continue with the alphabetical order, I guess we go to OE Global Award-winning James GG.
That's nice of you, Terry. You were there to get your own award, so it's a panel of award winners. At any rate, so some of the things that I do that could be called open education. I think most importantly for me is what I do locally here at my own institution to serve our own students here. We're a community college. We serve around 30,000 students. And at my own institution, the best thing we do is to support our faculty in moving away from commercial textbooks and moving toward open educational resources. There are tons of advantages to that, ranging from removing a cost barrier for students so that students can use their money to eat, for example, instead of paying for textbooks, all the way over to the open pedagogy side of things. So when you open up the learning materials, you open the door for students being more involved. You open the door for faculty to develop materials that are more current. Generally, you help faculty to take back control of the curriculum from private third-party publishers, which I think is a really important thing that we're engaged in. So in my institution, approximately 20% of all of our class sections are using OER instead of commercial textbooks. We're really happy with that. We'd like to do a lot more. We've got a great little team here of short-term employees who work under our online education program to work alongside professors who want to move away from the commercial product. A lot of that involves finding open educational resources that have been created elsewhere, but some of it involves working with our faculty to author or create their own materials. So that's the most important thing we do here is to help our own students and help our own faculty. In addition, throughout the state of California, I've been involved in a project that is helping colleges move from individual faculty members adopting OER, which is a good thing, but moving to developing entire degree or credential pathways built around open educational resources so that students can complete their entire credential without ever touching commercial material. In California, we refer to that as a zero textbook cost program, a ZTC, out in the western part of Canada, in British Columbia. Also, the ZTC acronym has been adopted by organizations like Queensland Polytechnic. You might also hear the term OER degree or Z degree. So we're still kind of working out the nomenclature in the field.
We say Z-Cred.
Yeah, Z-Cred. See, I can't even I gotta remember the audience. I can't say Z, I gotta say Z. Thank you.
We didn't understand what you said at all there.
So that's the big movement in the United States, and certainly in California, and I'm working pretty hard here in California to support other colleges doing that, and also to work with our state government to get more funding for that project. So those are the big things.
Those are pretty big. Thank you so much.
Oh, you know what? Can I add one more thing that I think might be helpful for others?
Yep.
My primary role at my institution is not working alongside the faculty. I'm not the guy who's working on the curriculum. I'm not the guy who's editing the documents. But what I do in my role is I get the resources, I remove the barriers, I move the paperwork along. It's not the heroic work, but if you're one of the faculty members or learning designers who is doing the heroic work, it's going to be really helpful to have a bean counting, paper pushing administrator who can do those other things for you and get you those resources and get the bureaucracy working with you instead of against you.
Sounds like a good setup. Helen says she wants a James in every college, every school in every college. So now we're gonna head to Hamilton. Peg.
So I'll take just a couple of minutes. I'm going to use mine more as a promotional than informative. So I'm going to reference a couple of the projects I worked on when I was with eCampus Ontario in terms of what I did with open education. So part of that was migrating the existing BC campus open textbook library to Ontario and helping build out the infrastructure so that could be more than a textbook repository. It can hold a lot of other different types of OER. So that's available. I know most of CDAG is, I think we're all in Ontario, except the presenter people. That's open to you now. So moving that forward in terms of the infrastructure as well as the awareness that it exists and what it can do. We've saved students almost 10 million in just under a couple of years with it launching. The other piece to that is making sure we add that we don't only adopt and say take from the open resources, but we also contribute. So facilitating sprints to adapt and create OER, that was part of my work with eCampus Ontario and the other program managers. So if you haven't already looked at the open library, take a look, and oh, Terry's already put it in there. So that's a way already created open material that your faculty can use in their courses ready to go, or they can easily clone and adapt to their circumstances. The other piece probably that was the most impactful while at eCampus was working with Terry and Jenny Heyman and Joanne Kehoe and Julia Forsyth and Cogdog, Alan Levine, and Michelle Singh to build out the Extend. So basically open professional learning that builds on teaching and learning skills. And it was kind of subversively open. It wasn't all about open, but the whole thing is open to take, to grab, to learn from. So those are two kind of big things I think Ontario could really benefit from using more. and that are open education.
Those are good examples. I love them. Thank you, Peg. And now we're going to go back down south to Tanya. You're in South Dakota, right? I forgot.
North.
North. Oh, I knew
Yeah,
that.
but I think it's still south from you.
Yes, you're southern North Dakota.
So what things that I do that I would call open education? So when I first came to Open, we had this idea of champions. And that was something that came out of the Hewlett Foundation. And at the time, TJ Bliss was leading a lot of that effort. And they really believed in the people who were doing the work, really empowering champions within their communities, within their institutions or states, and all around the world. And so I had a lot of people who helped me and empowered me to be a champion. And there were times when I didn't know what to do or what methodology to enact or who to go to, and people helped me. And so when I think about my own open education or the things that I do now, is duplicating that effort, right? So instead of there being like a single point of contact where someone might go for information, or this person knows all the things, if you empower others to also know and to do this work, then there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of champions. So in that way, my work is what I think of as open education. It's really empowering the fellows in the Spark Open Education Leadership Program to lead their own initiatives on their campuses. So we have structured all of the curriculum to give them the best and most pertinent information to have the foundational knowledge of what open is, and then empowering them to take over their own initiatives, to design something that's relevant for their community, and to really do something that makes a change and is needed within their institution or entity. So besides that, I do the same thing with leaders at the state level for the compacts. No one person can do all of the things, and so we need an army of folks out there working together, sharing information, taking down barriers. And within my work at the regional compacts at WICHE, I've done my best to train other people and really support them and empower them so that they can lead initiatives in their own regional compact for their states, and then share that knowledge on with others. So it never stops, the abundance of teaching and learning and sharing and openness. And I think that if you were to like back it all the way up to the beginning of this concept of open education, it really is this idea of empowering others, right? So it's not about me, it's not about the people who empowered me, it's like even a greater good than that, that they believe that that this openness and sharing and that everyone can learn is something that's beyond any one person or any one champion. And so my work, while I do have structural ways of sharing, so within this Open Educational Leadership Program that is going phenomenally well, it's our third cohort, and we have champions out there all over the place. You know, many of the leaders who have graduated from the Spark Open Education Leadership Program, and the great things that are happening at the regional compacts like Western Interstate Commission for Higher Education, and at MEC, Jenny Parks is there leading her states, and at NEBI and at SREB. So duplication of effort and really sharing and empowering others the same way people shared and empowered me.
That's so awesome. Before we move on to the next panel question, anybody have any extra thoughts from the panel members or anyone here? Well, we'll keep our eye on the chat. Thank you so much, all four of you. The next question, let's go in alphabetical order by last name. So we got French. Who would be first?
I love watching Terry try to do the alphabet.
Helen.
D for Deward.
Yeah. So Helen,
How
how did open education get you?
Getcha. And I'm going to say, similar to Peg, I don't think I ever thought closed. I think ever since I became an educator, it's been a process of opening windows and doors and breaking down barriers and taking down walls and thinking differently about how to teach students. I jotted down and thought about the very first time I did video conferencing was with an exchange teacher who came from Australia with a bit of digital savvy, and it was the very first, like the leading edge of video conferencing that happened in the kind of mid-90s, and we were doing these video conferences with his students back in Australia, and just blew the mind of all of the parents and teachers and students in the school. So I don't think I've ever really been closed. I think it's always been trying to find a way to open more.
Excellent.
So that's me.
Sorry, I was just trying to type an answer to a question there.
I think F comes after.
Go ahead.
F comes before G and before S. So I think.
Oh man, I keep making it so Tawny goes last. Sorry,
I
Tawny.
was going to say, let's just hope he doesn't go by age next.
Going by skateboard skills next.
I'm still waiting for something to jump out of the box behind him. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. So just like Helen was referencing, I'll reference back that. So coming from elementary teaching, and I guess you're gonna know my age by this, that I started teaching when the new curriculum came into play in Ontario, and there were no resources. So I just was making all my resources, sharing them out. They ended up at the board and were shared out from there. So again, I never really thought to lock something down. I just never thought about it. But I guess what really helped, well, at library school, Dr. Carol Farber, she was an adjunct from anthropology, and she brought in Creative Commons. So that's when it clicked, when the Creative Commons licensing came into play, because then there was a way that you could make it open, and it was very transparent and intentional that you were making it open. So I think that's when I was got, when Creative Commons came into play.
Awesome. James?
Yeah, hey, you know, what strikes me is how much we're all sharing the names of people who have moved us along, you know, like a relay race or, you know, a chain. This person tapped me on the shoulder, this person introduced me to a new way of teaching, and it's really reflective of, certainly in open education, it's reflective of how passionate and personable the community is. And I can do the same thing. There are some people who worked here in California, Martha Cantor and Hal Plotkin, who brought the concept of OER to their community college district at the time, inspired people from my institution, and we just kind of carried the torch from there. But what's I suppose inspiring about Martha Cantor and Hal Plotkin is that from their positions as administrators at a California community college in the early 2000s, they were ultimately asked by Barack Obama to go to Washington, D.C. to work in the National Department of Education. So they were able to take open to those roles and really help to embed open in the machinery of the national government. And I could be here all day like everyone else and just talk about the amazing, wonderful people who have helped me along the way and showed me a new trick along the way. I think for our audience, the important thing to know is that the community is incredibly passionate, incredibly inspiring, incredibly welcoming, and it's all about the people. We work with technology, you know, that enables us to do what we're doing, but it's not a tech field really. It's a people field. So hope that helps you, everybody out there, feel more welcome and more encouraged to get involved. I'll pass the mic.
Are you saying we're all in this room just like 4 degrees of separation from Obama right now?
in some respect, I think in the U.S. I mean, Tanya and I, we were in the same space last week, and one of those fabulous people was there as well, who helped to take the message to Washington D.C. and our dear friend Hal Plotkin is still very involved in Open. So
Very cool.
Rounding people up, yeah.
Thank you so much. Tanya?
How did open education get me? So I started out as an English as a second language teacher, and I felt like it was really rewarding to work with communities that needed access and skills to do really well in their new communities. So I think that, like others on this call, I had already a central core of equality and diversity and equity and inclusion and sharing and empowering other people. And so I didn't even know that there was a thing called open education. It kind of came to me. And my second work was working with online education, and I really thought that that would be a great way to bring education to the masses, people who are place-bound and people who couldn't access a college degree. And my dissertation work was empowering mothers, especially, to succeed in online programs. So when I discovered OER and open education, it just fit into this whole package of equity and inclusion and equality work that was already part of my my identity. And so it got me like that. It was like it grabbed me, and I just haven't let go. So it just makes sense, right? Why wouldn't somebody else on here said, why wouldn't you? It just makes sense that everybody should have access, no matter who you are, what language you speak, where you live, how much money you have, and what your background is. Everyone should have access to information and learning. And so, I mean, I could go on about that all day, but that's how it got me.
Awesome. Thanks, Tanya. Before we go to the next question, I think we should dig into the comments here. There's a question from Paul Meehan. With 70% of our Fanshawe's faculty now not full-time, I find in orientation to teaching sessions that new participants and their supervisors are often counting on publisher-created resources to get through the course at all. How does the move towards OER work within the staffing dynamics of extreme precarity? Anyone want to take that juicy one?
Well, since I live in college land too, I can take a little bit of a stab at, and it's not a solution by any means, it's an additional problem in that we don't own our content. So the college owns our content. So the movement at the college would actually have to be from the administration to want to help students and want to save students from working extra jobs, from not having groceries, and it has to come from that at the college. I can't just go and be open as much as I would like to. I need it signed off by the powers that be. So in terms of that, it would have to come down from admin, and admin would have to put some resources towards developing an open resource. So we've done it at the college with eCampus. We did it with the business textbooks. So we got the 7 Ontario faculty together over a weekend, and we adapted 2 business textbooks. So those business textbooks can then be rolled out. Business has a common semester, common year in some cases at the colleges. So that resource, yes, we put some money into it, but then that can be rolled out across the board. And because the colleges all work through the same standards, you can have that, oh, I'm losing my nouns. You've got that power of numbers that if you do it once, the impact is that much greater because it can be rolled out across 24 colleges.
And yeah, we're working to create OER that's like the same as the publisher created resources, including homework systems and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think just to add into that, it's building in the H5P from course to course to course, and then being able to export those and revise them and you know, just remix them a little bit to make sure that they fit the context in which you're teaching. isn't a lot more work than reading a publisher's text that is new to you as an instructor as well. So I think we can definitely gain from the wealth of knowledge through the practice that college instructors bring to their positions.
I just want to point out that Peg mentioned having a weekend sprint to create those textbooks. Yeah, we all got together for that sprint over the weekend, but then Peg for one and Jenny Heyman for the other completed like 10 marathons on their own to finish it off and get them out there, which is an amazing effort.
But it can be done.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, let's go to question 3. What are your hopes for the future of OER? And to this system is Tanya goes first.
Is it worries or hopes? Because hopes is 4, worries is 3. What are your hopes? Hopes, sorry.
I got hopes.
Sorry,
yeah,
I'm
hopes.
okay, sorry.
I might have switched it in the document. Sorry.
I'm reading 2 screens. I shouldn't do that.
So for this question, it really speaks to the question that one of our attendees asked in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I have a really big hope that the OER community can really come together and work together to combat more of the publisher open access. Currently, open access has taken a lot of the attributes that we used to talk about for open, like first day access and reduced cost. I actually have seen some of my my slides or my arguments or my quotes used in presentations by publisher salespeople, and then at the end of the presentation, it's selling open access rather than encouraging people to use OER. And so I've seen like a lot of success in the publisher community using some of the same arguments and same pleas that we make for open education. And they've really gained a lot of the marketplace share. I mean, OER has done great things, but I don't think that we've accomplished all the things we could if we work together better. And so some of the things that are still left for OER to solve is like a better catalog of ancillary materials for faculty. They need test bank, they need easy quizzes and things that faculty can use, something similar to like the Pearson My Math Lab, and simulations that are just a lot easier for them to incorporate into their courses. And so my hope for the future is that we can kind of put our minds together as an OER community and take all the good things that people are doing and really help promote that and focus in on it instead of like I do this one thing over here and James does that one thing over there and we don't know what's happening and all the innovations, and I think together we could do more.
Excellent. That's a great idea. Let's do that. How about you, Helen?
Oh, I think I'm just going to echo on those words, because it really is this, I talk about this ethos of care, and it just frustrates me but leaves me with hope that people who are in these spaces care enough about student learning, care enough about student debt, care enough about our teaching practices and the precarity of what we do, that we'll develop this, we call it intentionally equitable hospitality that I've written about, that kind of breaks away and says, I'm not going to engage in these caustic, negative, surveillance, subversive environments, and really just focus on the humanity that I think we all exemplify in the open spaces, that it's about the people. It's about the faces of the individual students who are coming into my courses or online spaces and that's, I think, why we do it. That's my hope for the whole movement, OER, use of OER.
I like your hopes too. Thank you. How about James?
Yeah, well, first of all, certainly echoing everything that Tanya and Helen said, 100%. In addition, sort of more broadly, I say I hope that OER will disappear, or open will become the default, as others say, meaning that it will become a normal way of doing business. It will be just what we do. You know, we don't devote a lot of time to learning how to use PowerPoint. We don't devote a lot of time to learning how to lecture because we kind of assume that that's what we do. Some of us need to learn to do it better, certainly, but it's not a movement around using PowerPoint. So I hope that open disappears or OER disappears as a separate thing. And one way in which we can help it to disappear as a separate thing is to believe the data, examine the data and believe the data. The data in the very rich and rapidly maturing field of educational research around OER tells us that moving to OER helps more students reach more success. And if we believe the data, then we can wrap our heads around OER being a tool, not the thing, right? Our goal, I think, for all of us, we say, our goal is not that we all use OER. Our goal is that more students learn and that we have justice in our educational systems and equity in our educational systems. And if we follow the data, we'll see that OER is a tool to achieve those larger goals.
Wonderful. And Peg, who is, I believe, pictured in the slide image there. Peg, what do you think?
Yes, with my flowing locks. So as much as I love the saving student side, I'm going to flip it a bit and talk about that empowering educator piece. So my hope is that we kind of cut the cord, kick the crutch out, whatever you want to call it, between faculty and publishers. In some cases, it's the institutionals themselves who are in bed with the publishers, and take back that idea of you were hired as a subject matter expert, and that means sharing your content and your context of your discipline. So I never got where, if you're coming in as the expert, why you want to rely on someone else's content to be your course in some cases. So that whole piece of reclaiming the subject matter expertise as faculty is my hope.
Yeah. And maybe the question 4 will kind of mirror what some of your hopes were. Anyone want to, let's have a free for all. Who wants to take the first stab? What are your worries for the future of OER?
I'll start. I'll go. Okay. So from the Ontario College perspective, there's such a pressure to generate revenue rather than grow knowledge, for lack of a better phrase. And again, since the college owns the content, they want to package and sell it. They don't want it to be an OER, so that is a worry. If that keeps going, if we keep going down that road that we're revenue generating, education is not an investment, we're to generate revenue, that's going to be a huge problem. And if I can just mention one thing from very maybe more granular than anyone wants to know, but I feel compelled to mention it from my librarian lens, is that we don't really have a true handle on version control with a lot of our OER. So when we're updating, adapting, adding, remixing, we don't have a great way to track all of that. So eventually, when we reach a tipping point where there's millions and millions and millions of things, I think we're going to be in trouble to know which is the latest version of that awesome book on that awesome OER on psychology. We're going to be in trouble without that version control. That's it. 2 worries, but they're pretty big worries.
So I'm going to jump in and talk about big data and surveillance capitalism as being one of my worries in terms of this perception of being open and not really knowing when the open is surveilling or capturing data about my use or anyone else's and my students' use of different technologies. One example I just read this week is in some college campuses in the States, the facial recognition software that's now being used as part of surveillance of where students are going and what students are doing without there being any permission or awareness potentially of how that information is being captured. So I think that's a worry when it comes to open.
Helen took my worry. That's it, boy.
Well, no, you have to think of another one. I'm just kidding. It's okay.
Yeah,
I'm worried that that the lines between what is a publisher book that or resource, even if it's not in paper, and what is open is really getting blurred. We have all these words that people are using to describe materials, and when you really look at it, it's not actually open. And that is a worry of mine, that people will not be able to discern between what is open and what is not open.
Open washing. Sorry, I'm just looking at Paul's comments in here, in the chat section. To add to Peg's point, the entire move towards PCC, private career college partnerships with respect to credential delivery to international students completely moves us away from OER. If the PCC is delivering a credential for St. Lawrence, for example, they need something to sell as a curriculum package to their PCC partner. Thus, all created resources will be brought into the college's ownership for the purposes of sale. Yeah, anybody have a comment on that?
Yeah, this is James. I'll jump in on that, and also Deborah's follow-up comment. Is there a fear that open resources might be used for commercial purposes? And I'll channel some of our colleagues in the open world who work with the open licenses. If we place an open license on our content, typically what we're saying is that we give permissions to others to use our content. We give permissions under certain conditions. Typically in education, the base condition is to give attribution or credit to the creator. To me, I created it, I'm openly licensing it, and the rest of the world can do anything they want with it so long as they give me credit for it. And stop there. So yes, oftentimes others may reuse open content for commercial purposes if that's what the creator, if that's the permission that the creator provided. If you attend Terry's a webinar next month on the intricacies of open licensing, then you'll learn that there are different types of open licenses, including one which will explicitly prohibit commercial use of what you created. So if you're a creator, you can say to the world, everybody can use this as long as they give me credit and as long as they're not using it for a commercial purpose.
And it goes
really
to
goes back to the intent of the creator.
Yeah, and the comment that Tanya made about having materials that she's created being used in these public forums, publishers using those materials. If it had been licensed with an NC or an ND, no derivatives, no non-commercial use, then it would go forward with that license on it. So I think that we really, as educators, need to think about how we are willing to share what we are willing to share.
And I have seen quite a few people move from being totally like just the CC BY, so attribution, to more of either an essay, share alike, or non-commercial because of the open washing. They've actually changed their thinking on that. I think even at eCampus, correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, but I think we even changed and went with an NC
Yeah.
The work we did. So we
Extend got switched to NC for sure.
Yeah. So
I think we have 10 minutes left, so let's go into the lightning round. Question 5, who are your top 3 open ed inspirations and why? And you got to say it at 1.5 speed.
Okay, 1.5, Go GN Network, Creative Commons, Virtually Connecting, Reclaim Hosting. If you haven't done your own domain under Reclaim Hosting, go for it. FemEd Tech, watch the hashtag coming up out of OER20 because there's an active group of women who are advocating for ed tech. And of course, eCampus Ontario.
That was 6 things, but that was 6 awesome things, so you're okay. Who wants to go next?
This is James. I'll go. First of all, students, particularly the students I get to work with here in California to help lift them up to be advocates for OER on their campuses, thanks to wonderful support from the Michelson 20 Million Minds Foundation. But overall, all of our students on our campuses who are engaged in advocating for more openness and better futures for themselves. Secondly, faculty and staff at small institutions who don't have the money to go to conferences, don't have the money to be involved, they can't travel, they're not, they're not out there, but they're still doing the right thing for their students. Those are real inspirations. And then finally, people like Mr. Terry Greene who bring the community together and expand the community and lift up new voices.
Never heard of him.
I'll go next. So for me, I guess the people who inspire, the next person whose eyes are going to light up when I know they get it. So it's always that next person, and that's going to keep me going. My colleagues at eCampus Ontario, I know Brandon was on the line. He's a program manager there, and Terry, and then a few others I've mentioned before. All of eCampus, if you haven't checked out the work they're doing, make sure you do. And then finally, Cogdog or Alan Levine. His work terrifies me. I only understand about 1/9 of it, but he kind of models, walks the walk, talks the talk.
Yeah, that would be 9 out of 125, right?
He's a genius.
Yep. Scary smart.
I'd have to start with the Hewlett Foundation, William and Flora Hewlett, who inspired all of this work and were willing to put a lot of effort and capital behind it, and they never ask for recognition. So one of the things you'll never see on a grantee's announcement is that they need to have their name front and center. They actually prefer not to receive the credit, and just really empowering people. Other people who are champions, who stay behind the scenes, like Kathy Casserly, who empowers so many people to do this work, and she's rarely the face of it because she's pushing others forward. And then just all the people who have supported me. I also think that there are hidden gems like my mom, who works at a tribal college, and others who are empowering students every day, and they will never be counted as the teacher of the year, but they go to work every day for students and find these materials and make it possible. So all kind of the hidden background people who do it without a Twitter handle, right?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. And I already made all my choices by inviting the 4 of you here today. So let's give some time for some chat, some questions from anybody. The picture of the skateboard upside down, it means the skateboard is being submissive and it's ready for questions. So let us know what your thoughts are, anything. You can see everybody's Twitter handle at the bottom there. That link there is for the Google Doc, what we were working on in the background. Lots of the stuff everyone talked about is there. Any questions? Comments, concerns?
I think, Terry, I just wanted to thank you for pulling this together, because every time I talk about stuff about open, I learn something, and I really appreciate the fact that I've had some voices in this panel that I've never had a chance to really talk to. So I really appreciate getting a chance to hear what Tanya and James and Peg are passionate about.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you here. And Peg, or Helen, you're inviting me to the to Noah Daniels' similar panel. Made me think of the idea of turning, not just me coming here and talking for an hour about it, but to invite other voices in. So there's another benefit of all this open sharing.
Yeah, great ideas, creativity.
Yeah. If anyone wants to follow up, I'm sure everybody here is more than happy to chat more. Or if you have any follow-up questions. Nobody's allowed to just sneak out in a go-to-meeting. I guess you get the pop-up that someone left.
Yeah, busted. I know most people.
Thanks again, Terry, for having us. This is really fun. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
If anyone's around Hamilton, I'm part of CDAG in my new role here at Mohawk. So if you want to chat, we can do it in person too.
In real life.
In real life.
Peg will probably have some awesome baked goods for you.
It could happen.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Bye, Terry. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, micro-credential certification day tomorrow.
Yeah. Are you coming, Helen?
No.
Oh.
I'm digging deep into my comprehensive portfolio, so it's a dedicated time to my PhD work.
We're gonna make the smallest credentials of all time tomorrow.
Nano credentials.
Nano credentials. I love credentials and bit badges.
They're gonna be like, you can't even see them. They're so small. Do you remember mini wheats came out with mini bite mini wheats? So like they were already mini, but they needed to be minier. That's what my goal is for tomorrow.
And then they'll go big again in another 10 years.
Huge wheats.
Say we're going to collect like 1,000 of them. They better be small.
Then they'll bundle them. It's going to be brilliant. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Tweet lots so that I can follow the conversation.
Okay. We may even tweet seriously a little bit. We may even tweet about micro-credentialing. Who knows?
Possibly.
Okay, well, I'm going to go get wrapped up and get to Toronto.
Me too.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, Terry.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Terry, for bringing all those people together. It's Jesse.
Yeah, that was awesome to have them.
Yeah. And I realized awesome usually we post the recordings behind, like in Board Effect, which is closed. So I'm going to post this one to YouTube if that's okay. Do you?
It's okay with me.
Okay. I'm wondering. I did post in the chat if anybody would rather not have the recording posted on YouTube to email me privately.
Well, okay.
What do you think?
I think you're pretty safe. Like, I'll just double check with the panelists, but
yeah, that's what I'm wondering about.
Nobody else said anything out loud, I don't think.
Okay.
So I don't think you need to really worry about everybody else. But you did ask here anyway.
Yeah, if you could, but yeah, if you don't mind checking with the panelists, just as a courtesy, that would be great.
Yeah, considering what we just talked about, I'm pretty confident they're all going to be cool with it.
Yeah, I know, but you never know.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much. I will might see you in person tomorrow as well. Sounds like you're very popular, so but I'll say hi if I run into you.
I would love to meet IRL for sure.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I can stop sharing. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.